Hey guys, what's up my awesome YouTube family? I normally don't make videos in the evening because of course all the natural sunlight, daylight is gone and there is no ceiling light in this room, so all I have is my little lamp over here and the light from the kitchen coming into this room, and that's all I have, and the lighting is not very good, so I usually don't make videos at this time of the evening or past sunset, if I can, but, not feeling too good tonight, dealing with a stomach issue of some kind. I'm not going to go into details because stomach stuff can be gross, but, just having stomach issues, so a friend of mine suggested that I, make some tea, so I have some tea here, my little coffee cup here. It's still very hot, so I'm having to kind of blow on it and take small sips. But, I wanted to tell you guys this story. I've been wanting to make this video for a while. And I kept putting it off thinking, well, it's after dark now, I'll make it tomorrow. And next day would come, and, well, I'm not really like making it today. So I kept meaning to do it, but I kept putting it off. And some of you are somewhat familiar with my background already and know this stuff already. So, this video may not be that interesting to some of you. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to. I totally understand. Keep in mind, like I said, I don't feel well. I haven't done anything to my hair to speak of. I'm not like my usual more presentable self. But, I wanted to show you guys the true story. Sometimes when people use the word story, it can be construed as a false thing, and like it's a made up story instead of a real, actual event that happened. This is something that really happened. And like I said, some of you are already familiar with this, some of you are not. Hang on a second, let me get some more of my tea. Whew, it's so hot. When I was 15 years old, it was 1986 was the year. I was 15 years old, and I came down with the flu. This is, I'm going to tell you the story, this true story, as best I can remember it. But it has been a long time since it happened, so I might get some things wrong. I'm probably going to leave some things out. I was going to hold off on making this video until I wanted to insert pictures in with the video, so you guys should see kind of what I look like, and I might still do that. I'm not sure yet. I might make this video, upload it now, and then if you guys are interested and want to see the pictures I have from when this happened, let me know, and I can add the pictures in later on and re-upload it. So, I caught the flu, came down with the flu, and one of the common things when you come down with the flu is you can't eat or drink much of anything. Everything comes out one end or the other of your body. It's going to come out one end or the other. So, you really can't hold food down. And sometimes you can't even hold liquid down. And so, and I don't know all the facts, I don't know all the specifics, because obviously I was sick when this happened, so I was like taking notes. So, but apparently, my parents, of course, took me to the doctor, and they gave me medication, and they gave me, stuff, to help me get better. But apparently, I went without food long enough, and without liquid long enough, for my blood sugar to drop to a really dangerous point. And I think whatever happened was more than just a flu, guys, okay? I'm not going to sit here and say it was just a flu, I think there's more to it than that. I don't know if I had a secondary infection or what happened. All I know is that I was very sick, and I couldn't hold anything down, and my blood sugar dropped to a really bad level. And my parents were not, negligent. They were not ignorant of what was happening. They took me to the doctor. The doctor gave me, medication to make it better. It didn't. I just got worse. And it escalated to a point. I'm going to turn my phone off before it goes off. It escalated to the point where I was kind kind of, what's the word? My speech was slurred. I was kind of murmuring and not making sense. And I was white as a sheet. And I was in a really bad way. So what ended up happening was, by the time I got to the hospital, I had slipped into a coma. I was unconscious. I slipped into a coma. And the pediatric doctor was on call. He's the best children's doctor I've ever met in my life. He was amazing. And he ran tests and things like that, and I'm not sure how long I was in the coma. I think I was in the coma for like almost 2 weeks, I think. During that time that I was in the coma, my kidneys were shutting down, my heartbeat was irregular, my left side had become paralyzed, my tongue had swelled up to a very abnormal size, and I had a few other things happen. Basically, I remember my mom telling me that she couldn't get through without crying her eyes out, poor thing. But I remember her telling me that she and my dad they told my parents to go home. You can't help her right now. We're taking care of her. You know, she's in a coma. We're doing what we can. And they got a call at midnight, I think, saying your daughter is on her way out. If you want to see her alive, you need to get here as soon as you can. So they ran. I mean, they exceeded the speed limit. Thank God they didn't get a speeding ticket. They got to the hospital, got up, and my mom was so overcome with exhaustion at all that I had already been through and what she had watched me go through. By the time they got up to the floor I was on, they were running down the hallway toward the ICU where I was. She physically collapsed in the hallway and couldn't move. And she just had I think it was a mental, not mental, emotional breakdown. Because she'd just been trying to stay strong for me, and she watched me go through all this, and I can't imagine what that was like for her. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. The doctor did not expect me to live. They did not expect me to live. I told my parents, we're doing all we can for her, but we're not sure she's going to make it through this. And my parents, God bless them, have deep faith in God. They're very committed Christians. They don't just talk about being Christians. They are Christians in their behavior and their character. And they called people, in every state they knew somebody, they called and said, we need you to pray for our daughter. And I don't know how many people they had praying for me, but they had people in at least a dozen states praying for me. And my brothers were calling people, my parents were calling people, we had the church prayer team praying for me. It was just the prayer support that they had was just amazing. And I came out of the coma, and that's when my nightmare began. Because, and I'll explain that. I'll explain this as we go on why that is. I'm going to get some Frenchie here. I came out of the coma. Gradually, my left side began to work again by some miracle. And, doctors had no explanation for why I was still alive. No explanation for why I was suddenly beginning to improve. Of course, I hooked up to IVs and all kinds of machines, monitoring everything. My mom, she ended up getting, it was either strep throat or pneumonia. Not That's aside from her physical and mental and emotional exhaustion from all I've been through. So I felt so bad for what she had to go through, because she actually ended up being admitted to the hospital, the same hospital I was in. She ended up being admitted to that same hospital because she was in such a bad physical condition. But what happened was, when I came home from the hospital, number one, my walk was very uneven because my left side had been paralyzed, and it was like a temporary paralysis, I guess. But I was sent to like neurologists and all kinds of specialist doctors, and had basically in a way had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to walk and how to move my feet and how to step and how to, something that you learn when you're a toddler, I had to learn all over again. Like I said before, my tongue has swelled up to an abnormal size. It had shrunk back down, but my speech was permanently affected. I can't pronounce my S's and my Z's very well unless I overpronounce them like I just did. I had a year and a half or 2 years of speech therapy trying to, every word that had an S or a Z in it, I said it over and over and over, trying to improve my speech. And regrettably, once we were done with the speech therapy, I didn't continue that work. I didn't keep on trying to work on that. And it shows in my speech now. I'm very self-conscious whenever I talk to anybody that's not like someone I've known for a long time. And I think that's why I always say, does that make sense? After I end a statement or end what I'm saying, does that make sense? Because I'm so afraid of not being understood. I had 2 years of speech therapy because my S's and my Z's weren't being pronounced correctly. It was like Sylvester the Cat on the Looney Tunes cartoons, suffering succotash. That's kind of how I talked for a long time. So I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to talk in some ways again. But the worst thing for me was, and I had never experienced anything like this up until that time in my life. I had never experienced this. But I had horrible, I don't know if you want to call them panic attacks, anxiety attacks, but I felt fear all the time. It hit me about an hour or two after I came home from the hospital, the same day I came home from the hospital. It was this overpowering, disabling, all-consuming fear. Like my life was in danger, like something was out to get me. Like I was terrified. My parents, God bless them, didn't understand what I was talking about. There's nothing wrong if you be scared. You're in your room. There's your favorite doll, and there's your stuffed animal, and there's your bed. What are you afraid of? They didn't get it was up here. And it was this crippling, disabling fear that was so powerful and so consuming. It was with me always. It was never a time that it wasn't in control of me. Does that make sense? Yeah, I would say, does that make sense? And it was hard to explain to people because I would say, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? People expect to see what you're afraid of in front of you. And it was in here. It was in my mind. And I couldn't explain that properly. I'd just been through a traumatic experience with the coma and everything. And I did have some brain damage from that coma. I did have some brain damage. I forgot to mention that. So I couldn't really think of the words to use to explain what I was experiencing. But it was a non-stop crippling fear. Like I was terrified for my life, but I didn't know why or of what. Okay? So, hang on, I got some of my tea. Good, now I can drink it straight from the cup. It's finally cooled down enough. But, it was so bad that I literally... This is going to be a long video, guys. I'm sorry. This is going to be a long video. I'm going to warn you now. It's going to be a long video. I looked up the timer. I'm like, 15 minutes? So I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize because that's how long the story is. But the true story is. But I literally was too terrified to sleep alone. I had to sleep. I had to not only did I have to sleep in my parents' bed between them, but I had to have my arms wrapped around my mom's waist like this the whole night. If she moved, if I lost that connection to her, if I wasn't holding her up against me, the fear would just become twice as bad. And I'm not sure that's even possible, but that's how it felt. I had to be in between them, and I had to be holding onto her and have her up against me for the fear to calm down enough, and it wasn't even calming down, but for it to be bearable. For me to be able to close my eyes and not freak out. That's how can you imagine being a 15-year-old teenager having to sleep between mommy and daddy every night, holding on to your mom for dear life because you're terrified? Not fun, guys. Not fun. Not a good way to spend time. No. And it was that way for over 2 years, I believe. I had to sleep between them every night for 2 years. My mom and dad, I bet they're, I'm not trying to be like, whatever, but I bet their sex life was non-existent because I was always in their bed with them. Poor things, but my dad said, let's go into your room. I will sit on the floor next to your bed. You can put your hand on my shoulder and know that I'm right there for you and try to fall asleep. Okay? We tried that. But the problem was, once he thought I was asleep, he would get up and leave the room and go to bed. Once he left the room, that fear became overpowering. And I would wake up and be panicked and go right back in their bedroom and get back in their bed for 2 years. Whatever this was, and that's why I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I know what people who have anxiety attacks go through. No, I don't. I don't have the slightest freaking clue what some of you go through. I don't know. But I can somewhat understand the control it can have over you if you allow it to. And for me, I couldn't limit this thing's control. I couldn't limit it at all. My parents took me to see a wonderful psychologist who just was amazing. And he used the term, grab the bull by the horns. And I thought, how in the heck can you grab something by the horns that is controlling you? That's swallowing you whole. That's like being eaten by a snake. I mean, only your head's sticking out, you're supposed to conquer it. How? It's got you. It's got you. It's swallowing you whole. What can you do? How do I grab the bull by the horns? He told me to start keeping a diary. When I have a panic, when this fear hits me, when it comes on super strong, write down when it starts. And try to think of things that will not make it overpowering. Try to focus on something, anything, that will allow you to escape that for a minute. And I found that there's a certain number of TV shows I watch that would distract me from the fear for at least a few minutes to a full half hour. And that helped me so much. I feel like TV shows as bad as some of them are, as horrible as some of them are, I feel like there's a redeeming factor about it, because no matter what hell you're going through in your life, you can escape that hell for 28 minutes and go into a different world that's not yours and be in that world. Be in a happier place. Be in a different place that maybe is better than the place you live. So, this, whatever this was, which I feel like now, you can disagree with me, that's fine. I'm not trying to, we all have our own beliefs. But I know now that was an attack of the devil, because God revealed that to me later on. Hang on, you're from Dream Machine. It lasted for over 2 years. And I remember the night that it finally went away. Or it finally stopped controlling me. It stopped being disabling and crippling. My mom was out of town. I can't remember where she was. She was out of town with family, I think. My dad and I were sitting in church. And by this point in time, I have moments when the fear is crippling, mind-numbing, controlling, and moments when it's there, but it's not all over me. Does that make sense? Like, it's not like fronting itself. So I got to a point, by this time I got to a point where I was able to kind of, where it wasn't controlling me, limiting me all the time. I have been able to kind of keep a diary of, okay, this is what I thought of, I prayed to God, and God helped me, it went away, that kind of thing. So it kind of went in waves. I was sitting in church with my dad, and all of a sudden, it came out of freaking nowhere and almost knocked me over. I mean, it was that strong of an attack. Okay? One minute I'm sitting there in church listening to the pastor, next minute, I can't even process thought, because I'm terrified. So I wrote my dad a note quickly. I said, Dad, meet me in the chapel. I need you, or something like that. And I gave it to him. And I didn't, back in my day, you didn't run in church, you didn't run in God's house. I didn't run. I walked as fast as I could reverently out of the sanctuary. Went down the hall into the chapel, ran down to the altar, and just collapsed at the altar and cried. And Dad found me there, and he went to the altar, and he started crying too. My dad never cries. He never is emotional like that. And he said, God, please take this away from my daughter. Where that emotion comes from. It's controlling her life. It's controlling what she's able to do. And I ask you to release her from this. I ask you to take this from her. And I was like, yes, God, please take it away. God, please take it away. And I remember just feeling this. And again, this is my personal experience. I remember feeling this sense, it's hard to put into words, this sense of like freedom, of like lightness. Like a humongous weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And at that moment, I felt the fear leave. Okay? Did it stay gone forever? No, it still rears its ugly head now and then. But I'm a lot stronger now and able to kind of, speak out against it. But from that moment on, it has never been like it was. And I love that my dad was willing to leave the service, go into the chapel, see his daughter there sobbing, and said, God, please take this away from her. And he and my mom have been praying that for years. But that was the moment that I felt it leave. And, but it controlled me for a long time. One of my best friends, wanted me to spend the night with her. We used to spend the night at each other's houses all the time. We were teenagers. We were like, pre-teenage. And so she was preteen, I was a teenager. And so she invited me over, and I was like, I'm not ready for this. And I couldn't even articulate that. I couldn't even articulate, I'm not ready for this. I can't do this yet. It's too soon. And sure enough, I had just a fear. This is before we prayed at the altar in the chapel. But I couldn't. I had to call my dad at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, pick me up. I need to come home. I can't do this. And my friend was totally bewildered, no idea what happened to me, why I was suddenly this terrified girl who couldn't even close her eyes to go to sleep. So it impacted my relationships. It impacted a lot of things. The speech, oh man, that was horrible. I have a distinct memory, probably because it just really messed me up. When I first went back to school, I still had the panic attacks. I still had the fear, but I was able to kind of control a little bit better and kind of keep it, under control a little bit. So, but the secretary at the school, she and I were really good friends. We were good friends in real life, and she knew what I had been through. She knew I was mentally and emotionally kind of traumatized by everything, and she knew that I needed to kind of have a slow process of going back to school. So she said, how about for the first period, you just stay in the office with me, and you answer the phone. I can do that. So I remember this one time I answered the phone, and it was from a phone call from one of the teachers. So I'm in the teacher's lounge, and I'll make up a name. Let's say Mrs. Let's say Mrs. Butterfly. Just say, here's a picture of Butterfly over here. Let's say Mrs. Butterfly. I said, Mrs. Butterfly, you have a phone call. What? You have a phone call. I don't understand what you're saying. Phone. You have a phone call. Phone. Someone wants to talk to you. What is she saying? I can't understand her. By the time she understood what I was saying and took the call, I went in the bathroom and just cried my eyes out. I thought, no one's ever going to be able to understand me ever again. I felt cursed by this whole experience. Even though God had saved my life and the prayers of God's people had saved my life, I came out of the coma, I was alive, I was defying the odds, I felt like I had just been cursed in a way. And I hate to use that word, but that's how I felt. The second distinct memory I have related to my speech problem is when I auditioned for the junior senior play at my school. I auditioned for one of the lead roles. I love acting. Acting is my heart, my passion, is what I love. And this is a long video. And the teacher who did the auditions, I was better friends with the teachers than I was with the students, guys. I'm just going to be real with you, okay? I was better friends with the staff and the faculty and the teachers than I ever was with my fellow students. But the teacher who was in charge of the auditions, we're really good friends, he called me in alone after the auditions were over. I hope I can get through this without crying. Oh my gosh. Because it still gets me to this day. He said, I want you to know you're one of the best actresses I've seen. He said, you have talent. You nailed that audition. Your facial expressions, your emotional reactions, the way that you stood, the way you positioned yourself. He said, you're one of the best actresses I've seen. This really hurts. Even to think about it, it still hurts. He said, but I can't give you a part in the play. And I was totally bewildered. And I said, why? He said, because no one can understand a word that you're saying. Sorry. Whew. Did you see how much that still hurts? What was that like? God, 30 years ago. It still hurts. He said, I want you to know I think you're incredible. He said, you nailed that audition. But I can't give you a part. Because no one can understand what you're saying. I'll never ever forget that. And he tried to, and he wasn't being like a jackass or a jerk. He did it as, he handled it as carefully as he could. He wasn't being rude or insensitive. He was being honest. This is the situation. You're amazing, but I can't give you a role. He was being honest, you know. He tried so hard. And I could tell it hurt him to tell me that. I could tell it wasn't easy for him to give me that information. Went through 2 years of speech therapy, 2 years of seeing neurologists and specialists, having MRIs and CAT scans to find out what happened, why it happened, how it happened, how much brain damage I gotten, that kind of thing. All this stuff I went through. It was a very traumatic, scary time for me. And with having that fear on top of it, just made everything even worse. You know? You might think, well, Kimberly, why are you telling us all this? I'm telling you this because I want you to know. I want you to know. If I'm a little hard to understand in some videos, which I know if I get excited, I start talking too quickly, and the faster I talk, the less understandable I am. I want you guys to connect with me on a personal level. In fact, this is like a good starting point. Okay? I'm a real human being. I'm a real person, you know, and my life has not always been perfect and wonderful. I want you guys to know this about me because it's true, because it really did happen. If you are interested in seeing some of the pictures that were taken of me around that time when I was in the hospital and hooked up to everything, and then when I was out of the coma and kind of coming around to things, let me know, and I can redo this video and add the pictures into it and re-upload it. But I wanted you guys to know one of the things I've been through. I think I will eternally be self-conscious about my speech. I will always wonder, did they really understand what I said? Was I really making myself clear? Did I enunciate my words enough for that person to really understand? Or really just nodding their head to kind of get along with it? Sorry if you heard that, a notification on my thing here. I battle with that a lot. So I apologize if in some of my videos, if I'm talking quickly, if you can't understand a word that I'm saying, it's probably not that important anyway. So just nod your head and move on with it. But this happened to me when I was 15 years old, and the ramifications of it and the effects of it lasted until I was at least 19 or 20. Took me a long time to be able to walk on my own, to be able to talk and be understood while I'm talking. Took me a long time to I'm not going to say get rid of the fear because it's not like I really got rid of it, but it took me a long time to learn how to, sorry about that, guys, notifications on my computer, so I'm sorry if you can hear that, but it took me a long time to learn how to deal with the fear when it comes, and how to not let it consume me. It took me a long time to learn to be around people again, to be social again. It took me a long time to move past all I went through. Do I regret going through it? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Because everything you go through makes you who you are. Everything you endure, good and bad, everything that happens to you, everything that you go through helps form the person you become, for better or for worse. And I think I'm better able to, at least on some small level, somewhat understand what people mean when they say they have a panic attack or an anxiety attack. I can kind of understand how it can consume you, where you can't even process thought, you can't even think, you can't even, it's just everywhere and it's following you whole. I can understand. I don't know what that person's going through. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I know exactly what you mean. No, I don't. Every person is different. Every situation is different. But I feel like I'm better able to understand what people mean when they talk about those kinds of things. I know when I preached in the church I'm a member of now. I preached here on Sunday November 4th. See, I'm stuttering already. Blah, blah, blah. And I remember going to the pastor and saying, God's given me a message to preach. If there's a time that you would be okay with my preaching in your church, I would appreciate the opportunity. And I preached here before. He knows that. He knows, he can trust me. And he came to me and he said, I already talked about this in the video already. He said, I need to talk to you about something, and I don't want you to get mad. And I said, okay, I don't think I will, but okay, I promise I won't. He said, I talked to the board about your preaching, because it has to be a board decision. I totally forgot about that part. Oh, that's right. He said, some of them are hesitant to allow you to speak, because when you talk quickly, they can't understand you. And we have a good number of people in our Sunday morning services that are hard of hearing. And they have to be able to understand what you're saying. It felt like I was being taken right back to that classroom in high school. Right back to that same teacher. It's like I was, And did it hurt? Oh, yeah, you bet it hurt. Absolutely. Of course it hurt. But he was just being honest. He said, if you're going to do this, you need to really focus on talking more clearly, slowing your speech way down, and really enunciating every word. He said, I want to make sure that the board is confident in your ability to do that. And I said, I promise you I will give it my best effort. I'll work very hard on slowing my speech down, thinking about what I'm saying before I say it, enunciating my words, and not getting carried away. He said, okay. So I was very, very nervous about that. Never had green tea before. That's pretty good. On Sunday dinners, I remember going to the church the Saturday before I was going to preach, and just practicing and practicing and practicing. And Sunday morning, I woke up thinking, okay, I have done everything in my power to slow my speech down, to enunciate, this is it. And when the service was over, I had a couple people, I had a bunch of people come up and say they liked my sermon, but I had a couple people who I know are very hard of hearing, who mentioned specific parts of my sermon that they enjoyed. And to me, that was like, yes! Because that means they were able to not only hear me, but understand me well enough to know what I'm talking about in my sermon. So that was a huge, yes. the person who can hardly hear anything not only heard me, but heard what I was saying and was able to follow along with what I was saying. So there's a huge good feeling. But him telling me that you need to work on this took me right back to that teacher in high school. God bless him. So that's my true story of the time I got sick as a teenager and almost died, but didn't. And I know it's because of God and the prayers of God's people. And I know the reason why that fear stopped consuming me was because my dad and I prayed so hard at that altar, and I felt God take it away from me. And I still have moments where it comes back. I have anxiety attacks. I have this fear that comes out of freaking nowhere. And I'm scared out of my mind, but I don't know why. I'm like, oh, I remember this. Okay, I remember this now. Been a while. I remember this now. Okay. And now I have better tools to handle it, like focusing on like watching a TV show or something that will get your mind off of what it's on. And also just keeping a diary of when they happened, what you think may have caused them to happen, how long they last. All that information is really helpful to look back on. So I'm going to go and go because this video is very, very long. It's going to take me all night and 2 days to upload. So I'm going to go ahead and go, guys. Thank you for watching. If you watched this entire video up to this point, God bless you. Thank you so much. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see the pictures, comment below and tell me you do. And if I get enough people saying they want to see them, I will redo this video with the pictures in them. I'm tired. Forgive me. Am I making sense? I'm going to go ahead and go. If I get enough people commenting that they want to see the pictures, I will redo this video. I'm going to go. I love you guys so much. Have an awesome day, night, evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. And I'm tired. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.